All right. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to talk about my top 5 running back prospects for the 2024 NFL Draft. Although I will have 6 players here because top 5. My two number 5 are like pretty much tied, 5A, 5B. And I still need to watch a little bit more of my 5B. My current 5B right now is from the University of Tennessee, Jalen Wright. So he's one of those early declares that surprised a lot of people. Everybody expected him to stay, but maybe his agent told him like, look man, this is a terrible running back class and you're young and explosive, good size. You might creep up the draft board, especially because he's definitely gonna test well in the combine. He's projected to be in the 99th percentile. His 40 yards speed score is 97th percentile, and he got great size, 5'11", 210. And my early comp right now is probably gonna be a terrible comp because how he fared in the NFL. And they're not very similar, but when you watch their tape, especially Spiller's college highlights at Texas A&M, this dude looked explosive. Just, he ran a pretty bad time, and his combine was terrible. Like everybody expected him to be like around that draft, like a mid to late second round prospect. Then he just tanked the combine, and he ended up going in the 4th to the Chargers. And then for all the games that I've seen him in the Chargers, man, he looks so slow. Like you watch, if he hasn't even have any highlights from the NFL, but if you compare the highlights in the NFL and Texas A&M, you'd see like they're two different players. And the reason why I comped him to Isaiah Spiller is because their college highlights are very, very similar. Although Jalen Wright is definitely way more athletic, especially Spiller's testing is so bad that I'll probably be more athletic, honestly. But anyways, Jalen Wright has more wiggle in between tackles, and he got that lateral ability. But overall, like the way they run, the way they catch, the way they play are very similar. It's just Jalen Wright's a much more explosive, smooth compared to Isaiah Spiller. But I don't know, hopefully, we expect Jalen Wright to kill at the combine, so he should be a much better prospect in terms of draft capital than Isaiah Spiller. Although I still have a late 3rd, early 4th. And Spiller looks like he went to the back end of the 4th round here, so projecting him, if he does kill it at the combine, I'm seeing like early 3rd. Maybe if they like their size, especially if someone falls in love with his size and speed, late 2nd. One of these playoff contenders that want that all-purpose back that can catch in the backfield. Although I haven't watched a lot of his all 22 because they're not really available on YouTube. So that is my RB5B right now. And my 5A is Braylon Allen. So this dude was a Devi darling. Like he came into the scene, true freshman, just destroyed. Okay, not completely destroyed, but dominated. Okay, dominated, but great freshman season. 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, 8 reception. Like true freshman. He was a 17-year-old freshman, and he played well. Unfortunately, he got worse and then way worse. Not like worse, but like he didn't improve from his freshman year. But that size, and he got some wiggle for this kind of size. Everyone is comping him to AJ Dillon, which I agree, that's a pretty good comp. Although with his quick feet, like he's nimble for a guy his size, and Dillon's more of a downhill runner. Although you could attribute attribute that to Braylon Allen, but he has more better feet than AJ Dillon in my opinion. And my current comp right now is Ramondre Stevenson. They're pretty much the same size, although in terms of BMI they should have the same size. 32. Okay, maybe he's a little bigger, but that's why I was so surprised with how Ramondre fared into the NFL, because 32 BMI, and man, this dude is smooth as a runner. And it was so weird that he fell into the 4th round. But I mean, he ran like a 4.7. But we expect Braylon to run faster than that. Probably like in the low 5s, high 4s. And if he does hit that, I think he'll go much higher, because he has all the traits to be a pretty good all-around running back. Although he needs to improve his pass catching abilities, but he's young, he's 20, and we don't get a lot of young running backs anymore in the league, because with how the NIL is set up, they're essentially going to get paid more money staying in college than going pro. And he's 20, and a lot of like 60% of the running backs in this class are over 22 years old. So you got 2 years to teach him to be a much better back, because you can't teach that size and that move ability, or whatever, is that even a word. But a lot of teams are gonna draft him because of his potential than his production. And I have a late 3rd, early 4th, and if he somehow shows elite athleticism at the combine, he's gonna shoot up to like late 2nd, early 3rd. He might even be the first running back taken. He just has that potential with his size, but right now his production didn't show it, and he has a lot to improve in the passing game. Right now he's just a early down back, like AJ Dillon that everybody compares him to. But anyways, that's my RB5A. And right now let's go and move on to my RB4. That's Trey Benson from Florida State. So he's such a boring prospect, because he doesn't do anything well, but he does everything pretty good. And my comp right now, okay, who do I have as this comp? Brian Robinson. They're basically the same player. I think Trey Benson has more potential because he's younger. When B-Rob went into the league, he was almost 23. I think he was already 23, so like we knew what he was. He's this bruiser. But the thing with Brian Robinson is, if he didn't get hurt, if he didn't get shot, and we've seen that explosiveness, he could have been a much better player in his first 2 years, or at least his last year, after he got shot. But he kind of lost some of his explosiveness, that little he had, but he slowly got it back at the end of that season, and you can see that he's a much better running back than everyone projected him to be. He's definitely better than Gus Edwards. He's more explosive Gus Edwards, pretty much. And that's what I see Trey Benson. A younger, a little bit faster, and more wiggle than Brian Robinson. And although, you know, they're pretty much similar in like their passing duties, I also can see that he can improve, because B-Rob actually improve a lot as a pass catcher. With I think he had the same amount of catches as what's his name? The other running back on the team. He got 36 last year. Antonio Gibson. Yes. So that's my RB4. And right now I have a mid 3rd grade, because B-Rob went pretty much the last pick of the 3rd round, and I think he's a slightly better prospect than Brian Robinson. And let's go move on to my RB3 right now, and that's Bucky Irving. Actually, RB3 and RB2 are so close to me, and the tie is pretty much the other dudes are better. running back. But Bucky Irving is a more complete, all-around, all-purpose back in terms of what the league is gearing towards. They want that all-purpose back that can catch, that can run between the tackles. Even though he's not great between the tackles, he's still good enough. And his explosiveness in the passing game and outside the numbers on the edge is pretty close to Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, he's not in that elite level, but definitely one of the better pass catching backs, all around backs in this class. Probably the best, honestly. And my comp right now, this might be too good of a comp, but it's McKinnon, because we've seen McKinnon the last couple of years with as a back-to-back Super Bowl champ, and man, he plays this role perfectly, and that's the perfect role I have for Bucky Irving, but with more touches. Because unfortunately we couldn't see, the full scope of what Jerick McKinnon could be because of injury history. And even with all those ACL injuries, he still managed to have a productive career towards the end. And that's what I expect from Bucky Irving. And right now I have what do I have here on my notes? Bucky Irving, early third, which could shoot up to late second, because you know how the league values these kind of backs with De'Von Achane, Jahmyr Gibbs, how they can change the game in an instant. And every team pretty much have a two-back system, and you need these kind of backs, and him and Jalen Wright are the top two in this class and should push him up the draft board, even though they were in a much better running back class, which this class is not that great. They'd be much later, but with how bad it is, they could jump up even higher. And that's my RB3. And my RB2, he's a little old, but he's basically the best running back in this class overall. But the thing is, I don't know if he can get any better. He's 23. He fits the perfect role. If you're a contender and you want that plug and play running back, this is it. You don't want to pay him. You want that 4-year contract and use it, every inch of it. This is the guy, because he produce any spot in the league, goal line, and yard. I mean, he's a pretty good catcher in terms of his size, but that's one of the part of his game that he needs to improve. But everything else, man, he's the complete plug and play running back, like I said. And I couldn't find a great comp for him because he doesn't have that elite speed. Everyone's saying Kenneth Walker, but I don't see it. Kenneth Walker is elite. He has elite traits, and Corum doesn't have that. He mostly relied a lot on his O-line to be very productive, but he's still very talented. And my comp is not exactly Khalil Herbert, but basically a much better version of Khalil Herbert. And between Khalil Herbert and Kenneth Walker, but closer to Kenneth Walker than Khalil Herbert. And I expect him to go early third, mid third, but a championship team wants a plug and play running back. He can go in the late second. And that's my RB2. And finally, the best running back in this class, which is pretty underwhelming, Jonathan Brooks. He's young. I know he's coming off torn ACL, which is unfortunate, but he's the most complete back here in terms of current talent and potential talent. He's already good, but he can be better, what I mean. And my early comp is Javonte Williams. Although I think Javonte is a much bigger back, but they're pretty much similar runners in which they excel inside, They're also good outside. And they Javonte has a little bit more wiggle on power, but Jonathan Brooks not that far off. Although it's unfortunate that he tore his ACL. We could have seen him, you know, raise his stock better because how the Longhorns made it all the way to, you know, the championship series. Although they lost, they should have won that game, but whatever. Anyways, Jonathan Brooks, my RB1. Although I have a feeling Bucky Irving and Jalen Wright can overtake him depending on needs of, or like how some teams want to construct their team. Like Jahmyr Gibbs, he went in pick 12. I had an early mid second grade on Jahmyr Gibbs for the same reason that, you know, what's his name, Bucky Irving and Jalen Wright can jump. I can see them jumping Jonathan Brooks because he's not a perfect prospect. He's just clean. Except if it wasn't for his ACL, he'd be a clean prospect in terms of, you know, potential and production. But anyways, that's my top 5 running back for the 2024 NFL draft. Well, I gotta watch more films and highlights because a lot of the later prospects in this class are smaller schools and it's hard to find some films on them. But I'll probably put out a top 10 right before the combine or right after. But next one should be my top 5 tight ends because it's hard to put a top 5 because I can't even think of 10 tight end prospect that can be drafted right now. But anyways, I'll see y'all later. Peace.